At the time of recording this, more than 10 million copies of Devil May Cry 5 have been sold. It became one of Capcom's best-selling franchises. However, sales aside, it is its legacy that is even more present within the game industry, when every action game is inevitably compared to Devil May Cry, or even as a source of inspiration. Lately, developers such as Tailblade, Lost Suicide, or Phantom Blade Zero mention DMC as a source of inspiration. But why? Why is Devil May Cry so inspirational? Why in every topic regarding action games do people bring up that franchise? Devil May Cry here, Devil May Cry there, and why is DMC V a solo game that I have the most of hours invested in? After playing a lot of character action games, or action games in general, Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, Ninja Gaiden Razor Age, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, Metal Gear Rising, God of War 1, God of War 2, God of War 3, God of War Reboot, God of War Ragnarok, Stellar Blade, Ghost of Tsushima, all Yakuza games, Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise, Muramasa Rebirth, God Hand, Killer is Dead, Sekiro, Bloodborne, Neo 1, Neo 2, Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, Evil West, Wanted Dead, Solstice, Onechambara Chaos, Onechambara Origin, Final Fantasy 16, and the list could go on. One question always came back to me. Why am I always thinking about Devil May Cry 5 while playing those games? Why do I always compare those games with Devil May Cry 5? Even though, at the time of recording, we are witnessing a character action game mid-Vemal's renaissance, like Lost Suicide, Tides of Annihilation, Ninja Gaiden 4, and Final Fantasy 16 and Ninja Gaiden 2 Black came out like yesterday, I do think that DMC 5 sparked that renaissance. Thus, I do believe that it may be the time to sit down and wonder about DMC 5 as a masterpiece. I tried to be as objective as possible. I tried to explain to non-fans, and fans could be interesting, why is this game so important and famed. I plan to answer the question of what makes DMC 5 so great through three main parts that are to me three core reasons that makes Devil May Cry 5 Devil May Cry 5. So, cool, freedom, and reward. Before I begin, I just want to warn the hardcore fans that I won't talk about hardcore gimmicks such as guard flying, inertia, or reversals. The most hardcore thing I'll mention will be JC. Furthermore, I will mention that things that were already implemented in previous entries, such as the reboot, but the discourse is about DMC 5 as a whole. I am a boomer, and this is my first time editing a video like this, so please go easy on me. And finally, there will be spoilers. With that said, we've been warned. Let's get started. Devil May Cry is a franchise that stands about being cool. This is a quote from Hideaki Itsuno on IGN's interview Capcom was on its knees after Resident Evil 6. Describing what is cool is difficult to do objectively. Indeed, what looks cool to me isn't necessarily cool to you, and vice versa. Thus, I focus on what Itsuno-san tried to do so that we, as players, could feel what is cool. To me, at least, something cool to watch or to do is something you never get tired of doing. For example, DMC 5's main opening with Nico and Nero is a cutscene I never get tired of watching because of its cinematography and presentation. That's also the case for DMC 3 with Dante in his shop. In DMC 5, there are cutscenes like this as well that are not that serious. The same can be said about in-game. For example, notice how Nero and Dante are drawing their weapons compared to their DMC 4 counterparts. The same can be said about their double jump when they do what I call a Captain America flip. Nero can also do this while doing a perfect time dodge, and shoot during a normal dodge. Being cool is also being able to notably taunt your enemies, and DMC V might be the game with the most taunts available to my knowledge, even in mid-air. I also have to mention the fact that taunts raise the stylish rank. Moreover, the final blow on each encounter triggers a badass slow motion and zoom in. And furthermore, some of the sound cues are very satisfactory to hear, from Nero's shot to Dante's shotgun, from V's double trigger to Virgil's perfect judgment cut, from Dante's perfect guard to Virgil's perfect release with his gauntlets. From Nero's max act to Dante's royal release. From Virgil's concentration gauge going max to Dante's real impact. Even though it may seem very subjective, I do believe that many players enjoy hearing those subtle yet satisfying sounds. A famous FGC YouTuber once mentioned that DMC V is like the feeling you get when in recent God of War, Kratos grabs back his axe like Thor, but non-stop. That comparison is one of the things that I want to explain, and I think that feeling can be explained by everything I mentioned so far. On the top of the sound cues, cutscenes, stylish rank, and animation details, some of the actions are satisfying and cool to do, such as Nero's Devil Buster. Killing demons with V while reading a book. Dante's backslide. Riding punchline with Nero. Making a big shockwave with Dante as DT. Finishing a foe with Nero's dropkick. Killing enemies with V while playing the Ride of the Valkyries. Countering bosses' attacks or Fury's attacks, and so much more. And notice that I didn't even mention Virgil. At time. There are two universal truths in our world. We have to breathe in order to survive, and Virgil is the embodiment of what it is to be cool. It's completely objective, by the way. If you look for a perfect definition of what it is to be cool, look no further. Virgil. You want proofs? I'm pretty sure that his presence boosted drastically DMC V sales. I mean, let's take a look at the sales progression throughout time. The game came out on March 8th, 2019. And on September 2019, it sold 2.7 million. September 2020, 3.9 million. And then he arrived. On November 2020, Mr. Special Edition arrived to save the day, and I do believe that he might be the one of the main reasons, if not the sole reason, that DMC V has skyrocketed. I mean, take a look. On April 2022, 5 million. Not a huge heap, but still good for a 2019 game. And on June 2022, and that is important, Sunny Legends' I Am the Storm That Is Approaching combo video. On par with memes with Bury the Light, the sales went to orbit. The aforementioned video, as of today, has more than 17 million views and 5 million for the 4K version. Bury the Light got more than hundreds of millions of views. For a goddamn OST, it is amazing. Thank you KZ Awards for having composed this masterpiece, and Victor Borda for the vocals. You guys rock. On October 2022, 6 million. Remember, it took a year and a half to sell 1 million from September 2020 to April 2022, and here it took only 5 months for the same amount. On January 2023, 6.5 million, half a million in 3 months, and now 10 million. Bury the Light was the door that attracted newcomers, and Virgil was what's behind that door, the embodiment of perfection that helped selling 6 million copies by himself. Although slightly over-exaggerated, I think that more than 10 million people might agree that Virgil is one of the coolest characters ever made. Obviously, anyone could agree or disagree about what I've said so far, but to me, Capcom did a great job about making a game where everything is a matter of being cool. But being cool is merely one piece of DMC V. An example of something cool could be shown in Killer is Dead. In that game, when you dodge an attack with a good timing, the screen goes red, time stops, and then you can unleash hell with a rain of slashes in a stylish and satisfying way. Cool, right? However, Killer is Dead, at least to me, lacked something important. Something that many action games lacked. Something that DMC V has perfected and is still today the embodiment of perfection. Freedom. Freedom of expression. Wait, but the game is linear as fuck, with no side quest or whatsoever, right? True, but that's the dilemma. Would you rather have an open world with 10 different moves or a linear game with more than 100 moves? Of course, it depends on what you're looking for, but DMC V nailed perfectly the second option, in my opinion, of course. So, let's play a little game. Here are the controls for DMC V. In your opinion, what is the most essential button? Is it the melee button? Or the gun button? The Devil Breaker button? Or the jump button? Think a little. My answer could trigger a whole debate in the comments. It would be interesting to read your thoughts. The lock-on button. This button right here is Capcom's answer regarding one difficult challenge, the limit of buttons available on a controller. And now you might think, bruh, they could just put this button all free like in Souls-like, what the fuck? What if I tell you that the real lock-on's button's purpose is not actually to lock on? For example, let's take a look at Nero's moves. You have melee 4 times, melee, pause, then mash melee, melee 2 times, pause, melee 2 times, melee 3 times, pause, melee, hold melee, release, air melee 2 times, pause melee, air melee 3 times, Devil Breaker, hold then release, Devil Breaker, Devil Breaker in the air, hold and release, Devil Breaker in the air, gun, hold then release gun, hair gun, and hold then release gun in the air. And that's it. That would make more moves than half of action games such as Killer is Dead or Ghost of Tsushima, and less moves than the other half, especially games with light and heavy attacks when you can do light, light, heavy, or heavy, heavy, light, etc. However, thanks to this lock-on button, the number of available moves is multiplied, whether you lock an enemy with forward, backward, or back forward. Thus, we have now lock-on forward melee, lock-on backward melee, lock-on back forward melee, lock-on forward melee in the air, lock-on backwards melee in the air, lock-on back forward melee in the air, lock-on forward melee double breaker in double trigger mode, the same with backward, lock-on double breaker, which is the wire snatch, and you can do in the air. Suddenly, we have dozens of moves added to Nero's arsenal thanks to one single button. If he had his 8 Devil Breakers, Nero has even more different moves at his disposal. And don't get me started with Dante. Actually, Dante has 4 styles that you can switch anytime. Each style modifies the purpose of his style button, his own double breaker button if you want. Trickster gives you more mobility with dashes and teleports. Swordmaster adds more melee moves. Gunslinger adds more gun moves. And then you have Royal Guard that gives you the right to be invincible, allowing you to guard against every single attack of the game. Dante has 4 types of melee weapons that you can switch anytime. Each melee weapon modifies the purpose of his melee button. Dante has 4 types of gun weapons that you can switch anytime. Each gun weapon modifies the purpose of his gun button. Now, don't worry, I won't go into details like I did with Nero, as I think you get my point. Even without the lock-on button, Dante might be the character in any video games with the most moves at his disposal. And if you add the lock-on button, he's definitely the character with the most moves available. You don't even need to do the math. My best example would be regarding his gauntlets. Thanks to the lock-on button, Capcom basically transformed a melee weapon into 2 distinct weapons, blow mode and kick mode. You can switch between those 2 modes by simply pressing lock-on, backwards and melee, anytime, even in the air. And of course, it changes the purposes of the melee button, but also the style button while in Swordmaster mode. And as a cherry on the cake, he has a Sin Devil trigger that gives him even more moves. Now, if you're a fan and already know that, you must be laughing, because you know the truth. That's only the beginning. Okay, so now here's the controls layout again. We'll play the same game as before, but for another button. Which one do you think is important? You don't hint, think about the dodges. The jump button. As the lock-on button after some practice becomes second nature, the jump button is what puts Devil May Cry definitely above 99% of all of action games. But why? It's just a fucking jump button. Let me explain. First, as you may have noticed, there is no dodge button, unlike 99% of other action games. So how the fuck do we dodge in this game? Well, the lock-on button is here. Lock-on plus left or right plus jump is how you dodge. What? Why is it so complicated to do a simple dodge? This is probably one of the most controversial compromises that Capcom made in order to be able to give the player as much moves as possible with a controller. Let's say you want to map a dodge button. Where do you put it? I mean, here's Dante's control layout. What button could we sacrifice to put a dodge button? Well, Devil Trigger could be placed in R3 plus L3 like in God of War. Probably, but you lose the possibility of activating the Sin Devil Trigger when you have to hold down the Devil Trigger for some seconds before being able to release and activate. And I don't think having to hold down the 2 sticks during a fight would be a great idea. That's where the lock-on button / dodge button war comes into place. Every developer tries to find a way to complement this compromise. In Ninja Gaiden and the original God of War, you have a dodge button, a jump button, but no lock-on button. In Onechambara, you have a dodge button, a jump button, a lock-on button, but at the expense of a gut button. In Killer is Dead, Evil West, and recent God of Wars, you have a dodge button, a lock-on button, but no jump button. In DMC Reboot, you have a dodge button, a jump button, a lock-on button in the Definitive Edition, at the expense of a style button. In Stellar Blade and Final Fantasy XVI, you have a dodge button, a jump button, a lock-on button, but you don't have a weapon switching button. And then there's the case of Metal Gear Rising and Bayonetta, 2 games made by Platinum Games. Metal Gear Rising could have been a real DMC by its control layout, They found a way to implement parrying with light button and a dodge by pressing light and jump at the same time. But they strangely didn't make on-the-fly weapon switching available, and thus the flow of combat is hindered by this choice, like Ninja Gaiden, and there's no gun button. Bayonetta is the closest to DMC, but the presence of a dodge button limits the possibility of switching independently guns and melee weapons. My point isn't about convincing you that X game is better than the other because it has a dodge button or not. I just want to stress out how difficult it is to simply choose the control layout and what has to be sacrificed or not for the player. Capcom chose this layout at the expense of a dodge button, so that every single button is important for one goal, giving as much moves as possible for the player to give the most freedom for the player to express himself. That way, ironically, Capcom gave several dodges to Nero, Dante and Virgil. Nero has, on par with the normal dodge and the melee dodge cancel or sidestep, a perfect time dodge, a hit and run dodge with lock on back forward melee, and a special dodge with a double breaker button when equipped with Gerber. Dante has, on par with a normal dodge and sidestep, a dash and teleport with Trickster, thus it becomes a dodge button, and a waving dodge by holding melee left or right with ball roll in below mode. Virgil has a normal dodge, and a sort of Trickster dash move as his own sidestep, and a dodge button that also serves as a teleport button. Now that the dodge button debate discussed, I have to talk about one thing that fans watching this video are getting nervous about, probably. But first, I have to give some context that would sort of explain why this little thing is what puts probably DMC way above the other action games. Back in 2005, I played for the first time to a friend's house Devil May Cry 3. I was aware of the series, but it being 11 at the time, I was too scared of DMC 1, me having a demo disc with a trailer of DMC 1 with notably the synthesis. After trying DMC 3, I was in love with the game, and the friend gave it to me. I became obsessed, and it would be the PS2 game I played the most, on par with Metal Gear Solid 3 and Final Fantasy X. But as I finished the game several times, I sat down and watched the videos you unlock in the game, such as commercials, making-ofs, trailers, and even a combo video made by Capcom. This combo video is very important for context. As you can see here, there's one thing very odd. Dante's revolving attack with Cerberus, the ice nunchucks. Basically, here's what the revolver move is supposed to do. Striking the ground. However, that's not the case in this video. Instead, the revolver ends with the air melee attack, like you can see here. It haunted me. I tried to do it many times without any enemies, just spamming revolver in the emptiness, tried to cancel the move by spamming jump, for nothing. It became frustrating. And then, one day, I went to a friend's home. I didn't have any internet back home in the day. I didn't know what DMC3 was, he didn't know what DMC3 was about, and then he showed me YouTube and explained to me the purpose of this website. So I just wrote DMC3 combo, and I thought that DMC3's essence was purely about combos. If the music you are hearing triggers you goosebumps, that means that you know exactly what video I'm referring to. This video was my first introduction to not only videos known as combo videos, but also to the pinnacle of action games. It was as if I entered a new world. I had finished the game so many times, and yet I was discovering practically a new whole game. What? How? What the hell is going on? Is it a glitch on something? What the fuck? And I was sure that it wasn't a mod or anything, because all the combos were done in the same room where there are demon summoners. You could say that was a sort of training room, when you could fight demons endlessly as long as you don't kill the summoners. And now, if you are not a fan, you may wonder, but then, come on please, tell us the secret. And if you're a fan, you're probably just shouting, just say it, tell them for God's sake. Well, little game of guess. Here's a list of Nero's moves you can buy with the game's currency. If you look closely, you might see something weird regarding prices, except the explore location, of course. So we have speed, table hopper, the second and third upgrade, wider snatch with upgrades. Wait a minute, why is this enemy step price so high above the rest? No worries, let me show you. As you can see, it allows me to jump on an enemy. Yep, that's an enemy step. No shit, Sherlock. Now, let me show you the limits of what I've told you so far. As you can see, when I do melee combos in the air, Nero goes down, as does the enemy. And it's the same thing with a move called Caliber, when I lock on back forward melee in the air. And now, if I press the jump button during the Caliber move and then shoot the enemy. And do it again. Alright, now back to initial problem with Dante in his nunchucks. That's it. It works, just like in that Capcom combo video. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is called jump cancelling. It exists since 2001 in DMC 1. You cannot comprehend how much important that jump button is for DMC fans. It's like the cherry on top. Your gaming life changes after that discovery. Every action game feels off after that. I mean, there's animals, men, angels, God, and then the jump button. There are actually 3 real general truths. We need to breathe in order to survive, Virgil is the most badass character in any media, and jump cancelling is the pinnacle of everything. It is what makes DMC players ascend above every other action game enjoyers. This is why DMC fans don't care about heartbreaks, because jump cancelling exists. It is the reason why DMC players were shouting of joy when they saw this thing in the first trailer of Final Fantasy XVI. That single button alone is the result of countless of combo videos for decades. This single button alone allows you to play The Floor is Lava. That single button is freedom. Now, I could stop my analysis here, but I would like to address one more important point regarding DMC 5. How this game rewards you if you try to be cool and use most of the tools. Or not. There is one great thing regarding everything I've said so far. You are absolutely not forced to use those tools. You don't have to play with all Devil Breakers. You don't have to play with all Dante's guns and melee weapons. You don't have to use jump cancelling. You don't have to use style switching. You don't even have to use lock-on, or just use it for platforming with Nero, with Fire Snatch, and you may just dodge attacks by jumping. You don't have to attain a triple S rank in encounters. You don't have to finish a mission with an S rank. In fact, you can really finish the game without doing anything I have presented. And that's why I think is where DMC 5 is special. There is no or barely any platforming, there is no unskippable cutscenes, there is no color-coded enemies, there is no gimmicks to go through in order to beat a boss, there is no forced walking sections, okay, just one with VA for less than 10 seconds, there is nothing forcing you to replay the game again, there is no really annoying enemies to fight against this time around, looking at you, fallen angels in DMC 3, or Blitz in DMC 4. Basically, you could finish this game like you would in any other action game. No one should blame you if you finish the game by just spamming Stinger, lock on forward melee. In fact, nothing imposes you to play in a certain fixed way. In fact, Capcom is saying, it's not saying you have to, they are saying you should. They encourage you to use more tools through the stylish rank system. Indeed, the rank goes up only if you play in a cool way, by using several different moves without repeating the same move over and over, by using perfect taunts and perfect time moves, and it goes down if you get hit or if you attack with the same move. In many other action games, that stylish rank system is replaced by a hit counter. Only the number of hits count and disappear if you get hit. However, the stylish rank system isn't just for show. One of the main core flaws of Devil May Cry isn't about finishing the game, it is about how you finish the game. It's not about killing demons, it's about how you kill demons. And thus, the stylish rank system is a way to encourage the player to try cool things in combat, and rewards the player for succeeding. Any enemy is killed while being high rank drops small orbs from D to B rank. The game plays only verses of the music at A rank. The game plays only a bridge of the music to hype up the chorus if the player gets to S rank. The higher your overall score in stylish points, the higher your mission rank will be, rewarding you with more red orbs. And your current stylish rank in battle affects your taunts, D to C rank taunt, B to A rank taunt, and S rank taunt, even in midair for Vegel and V. And as you can see here, if I finish a mission, let's say mission 1 with D, you can see the red orbs again. And in S rank, this is way much. Way more. And so here's a quick example. So as you can see here, I did a taunt, it raised the stylish rank. And don't worry, I'm spamming on purpose so that you can see the stylish rank. It's not going up, not much. I didn't have a taunt, so it got filled up again. And now I'm in B. And you're hearing the verse from now. And now you may hear overlapping the verse and the bridge. It's overlapping between the two as I'm close to S, and now I'm in S rank, and now you can hear the chorus. Furthermore, some gameplay elements are very affected by the stylish rank system, such as Nero's available time on his punchline level breaker. Alright, 10 seconds, and now if I'm in S rank, seconds. Virgil S Air Ton is actually a slash move from DMC V. Dante's quadruple S ability allows him to instantly transform into Synth of a Trigger form for 3 seconds, the time to do one attack for free. And there's also Virgil's S taunt that can actually juggle enemies. And some taunts have some gameplay utility, such as Nero reloading his gun, you can see on the top left. He can also rev his sword on the ground and in midair if you press the exit button in time. And there's one of B to A rank with Virgil that completely fills up his concentration gauge, and of course those taunts fill the DT gauge. Thus, here's the thing, as red orbs are the currency you need to upgrade the characters, it means that the player trying to use cool things would be in the end able to upgrade his characters way quicker than the player who sticks to few moves, and thus get more powerful sooner. I think it is a clever way to encourage to try new moves and to go out of the comfort zone. The Void's a great idea to try new moves without harm, like a training mode. The DT gauge is another example of a way to encourage players to take risks. Even though a normal dodge and perfect dodge result in the same conclusion, you gain more stylish points and more DT by doing a perfect dodge or parry, by taking risks. One main point of concern regarding Dante was Royal Guard. In previous entries, Dante would take damage if his perfect guard wasn't correctly well timed and could be even broken. However, in DMC V, a normal guard costs some DT gauge, not life, and a perfect guard actually gives some DT gauge even in double trigger mode. The guard would break only if you have no DT left. Do you see where I'm going? Royal Guard is now way less frustrating to use and even encouraged to use. In previous entries, barely anyone would play with Royal Guard because the high risk, high reward ratio was too wide. Now the risk has been reduced while keeping the same reward, just simply the strongest move of the game, the Royal Release, a counter move that uses all the damage we have parried. That damage is displayed in the Royal Guard gauge on the top left. Basically, you might use Royal Guard with Dante instead of Trickster for dodging, because of that counter move. And although it's a bit far-fetched, you're rewarded if you watch closely the behaviors of Griffin and Shadow with V. Did you know that dodging teleports back Shadow to V? And did you know that the back jump teleports back Griffin to V? It means that you can actually save your companions from death if you're really paying attention to them. Regarding Virgil, you're rewarded if you play him as how he should be played, calm and collected. This is embodied by his concentration gauge that fills up as you attack and dodge correctly, and goes down if you miss your attacks, flee or take damage. It even goes up, the DT gauge as well, if you let him sheath his Yamato. The reward: more range for Yamato, more damage for Beowulf, and more hits for Mirage Edge. And if the concentration gauge is at level 3, nearly full, on par with the SDT gauge, you can do his ultimate moves, such as this fucking big drill attack, that goddamn Megidolaon, and of course that move that is getting copied in many action games, the badass Judgment Gun End. What about Nero? Where's the reward? Well, Itsuno-san insisted on Nero getting his Devil Trigger in the final showdown of the game. Nero gets final Devil Trigger, and most of the players have beforehand broken Devil Breaker because the Devil Trigger button for V and Dante is the breakaway button for Nero, and you get his Devil Brigand back. It is a way to say, well, congrats, you have beaten the game. What about doing it again with a way more powerful Nero? You can now grab without the Devil Buster on and even do this shitty move. Of course, like the enemy step, it hides a specific purpose. Remember the Caliber example with jump cancelling? Now look at this. What if I charge my gun and jump cancel while doing this? And what if I try to rev up on time my sword while doing this? Yes, another tool to multiply the possibilities. And the same applies to Dante with his new sword with a sword formation that modifies the behavior of several moves. In conclusion, Devil May Cry 5 is a perfect cocktail of a rewarding game that is rich and satisfying to play. It does what a video game is supposed to do, to be fun. Even though I am not a Nintendo guy, I have to give credits to Reggie Fils-Aimé here, as like he said,
the game is not fun, why bother?
In times where video games try to be movies, it is refreshing to still have games that focus on one goal, being fun as possible without any political agenda or whatsoever. To me, fighting demons with an announcer shouting "smoking sexy style" while planning my choreographies for my final blow is my definition of a fun zone, with a chorus kicking in. In fact, I have posted a video called Why Devil May Cry 5 is Great in 10 seconds and was surprised about the attraction it gathered. And now that I think about it, This essay might be an attempt to explain why that video resumed clearly DMC V, the perfect guard, the backslide, the announcer shouting badass, the slow motion, the zoom in, it's all here. It's cool, rewarding, and I just used one of 100 tools at my disposal, and not the easiest one. I really insist on the freedom of expression. You can play however you want. Personally, after more than 600 hours, I played Dante without the thermostat, nor the rocket launcher, as my brain wouldn't allow more information. Hell, I'm pretty sure that among those 10 million players, not even 1 million use the jump cancel, and that's perfectly fine. My goal was not to fuel a war of what's the best action game ever made. I just wanted to try to explain something that was bothering me and express it as accurately as possible. I guess I wanted to explain where the DMC inspiration from some developers came from, but in the end, all that counts is that you are having fun with this game. And you could say that Devil May Cry 5 is a peak of combat. I hope that video was useful. Like I've said at the beginning, I am Boomer, and I'm sorry if the editing was awful. Don't need to subscribe or anything, I don't upload a lot of content because of responsibilities issues, but it would be great if you could share the video, as I think I said a lot of interesting things regarding this game. By the time I finished recording, I saw social media debates regarding the DMC Netflix anime. Whether good or bad, please don't bash people liking it. It apparently helped to gather new fans and thus would encourage Capcom to do a new DMC game in the future. That's all that matters. We don't want to have to wait 10 more years like DMC V for a new game. Anyway, thanks for watching.